Hello, everyone. Once again, welcome and well zooming wherever you are in this world. What a wonderful thing that we can be together in spite of being physically located at many far places. But yet, when we all put our thoughts together for the sake of the Dharma, we're able to tune in. And tonight we have the additional left teachings from leftover from yesterday, and then followed by Bodhisattva vow ceremony, which is a very auspicious thing to do in Saga Dawa. So without further ado, I thank Sakya Friends and all the wonderful volunteer translators who are all giving their bodhichitta in action by offering these services. So I rejoice and thank everyone. And we will first start with taking refuge in the Triple Gem and renewing our bodhichitta. And reciting the four immeasurables before we begin the teachings. You could include those people and many sentient beings in a very dire, difficult situation facing. So think of them in your fond prayers, and may this effort of ours together will be of cause of benefiting all temporarily and ultimately lead them to gain perfect enlightenment by the virtue of listening, translating, and giving these teachings. So with this in mind, we'll do the prayers. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of giving and the like, may all beings attain enlightenment. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge in enlightenment. By merit of giving and the like, may all beings reach enlightenment. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge in enlightenment. By merits of giving and the like, may all beings achieve enlightenment. May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and cause of suffering. May they never part from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion to those near and far. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and a cause of suffering. May they never part from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion to those near and far. So with these prayers, we are here tonight to continue the remaining teachings on the secondary vows of the Bodhisattva practitioner, a practitioner on the Mahayana Buddhist path, committed to honor their altruistic bodhichitta vow, not only the intentional one, but also the engaged one. So out of the 46 secondary vows and 18 root vows, we have already covered the 18 root vows, and out of the 46 secondary vows, these vows are connected with the 10 paramitas. So usually we think of the 6 paramitas, but there are 10 paramitas. So this, according to the Mahayana Buddhist path, one who pledges and holds the vow of bodhicitta, and then engages in guarding and maintaining and protecting and renewing the minor transgressions and keeping the bodhisattva vows, this kind of practitioner will eventually gain from non-practitioner status to a practitioner status. And when every practitioner status who have taken the bodhisattva vow is a bodhisattva, but bodhisattva who's a beginner bodhisattvas who are on the path of accumulation. And after practicing on the path of accumulation as a beginner, then slowly the practitioner develops some familiarity and become accustomed to the precepts and practices, and through the discipline, meditation, and wisdom, they may then go to the intermediate states, path of preparation. And then once he has accomplished the path of accumulation and the path of preparation, then he may reach the advanced level of path of seeing. And then from then onwards, he has already become a bodhisattva who has realized the first bhumi. And then he has to go through that path of seeing, is then furthered, advanced by practicing on the path of meditation. And path of meditation is takes as high as 7th bhumi. And then after 7th bhumi, he goes to the path of no more learning, And then he reached the 10th bodhisattva stage. So in order to achieve these 10 bodhisattva stages, his practice of bodhicitta, bodhicitta is perfected by practicing the 10 paramitas. So the 26 vows, secondary vows we have discussed up till yesterday, covered the vows pertaining to the first 5 paramitas: generosity, self-discipline, patience, diligence, and then meditation. So we have covered that far yesterday. Now tonight we're going to start from the verses, the vows pertaining to the perfection of wisdom. Perfection of wisdom is the 6th paramita out of the 10 paramitas. And so we are going to discuss in that context. Remember, I told you about the each analogy matching the paramitas. The first generosity is a treasure, and the self-discipline is a precious gem, and the patience is ocean, and the diligence is diamond, and the meditation, the 9th analogy should be like a mountain, immovable and stable and still. So now tonight, when we talk about the vows starting from 27 till 34, those vows are connected with the 6th paramita. 6th paramita is the wisdom paramita, perfection of wisdom. And the analogy for that is panacea. Panacea is a medicine, the medicine that can cure all the illnesses. So what is that? That is wisdom. So we as a bodhisattva practitioners, in order that we do not forget in order that we remember the vows connected with the perfection of wisdom is going to be described. In order that we don't forget these 8 vows, these are 8 secondary vows connected with the perfection of wisdom, we have to think of it as a medicine, because each of the vows are preventative medicine. If we guard the vows properly, then meaning we are taking the medicine, because medicine is mainly to cure the illnesses and sometimes prevent illnesses. So this medicine with the 6th paramita is a panacea. By taking the medicine or remembering these 8 secondary vows, and not to mention the root vows, then you are able to prevent from becoming sick, and you become well by taking the medicine. So therefore we should see each of these secondary vows as a medicine, as a panacea from getting ill and sick and not well. So it will prevent you from getting sick. So we should think about that. So the 27th vow, which is the first of the 8 vows connected with this, is that we shouldn't do is looking down on the Theravada teachings. Yeah, you don't use the word Hinayana. We should use the Theravada, because Hinayana is a derogatory term. So looking down on Theravada teachings or texts, saying that the study of them, is not necessary for people who are following and are Mahayanists. Of course, thinking of this means one is contemptuously and looking down out of arrogance. So that is a minor secondary transgression. So one should not think like this. And not thinking like this is a medicine. Because we're supposed to be Mahayanis to treat all sentient beings kindly and compassionately. We should not make anybody to feel looked down upon or treated with contempt. So we should not arrogantly saying we are Mahayanist and we don't need to become familiar with the study of the Pali or Theravada sutras or Abhidharma or the Vinaya. So we should not speak like that. So that's why if we did, then it's a transgression. So that's the 27th one. So respecting. So this means we should respect the Theravada teachings, and we should not say blatantly saying one shouldn't study them because Mahayana is higher. We should not say such things. Not saying that is a medicine. And then the 28th one is exerting effort principally in another system of practice, maybe for instance in Theravada, while neglecting one's own Mahayana tradition. So while it is important not to denigrate and look down on Theravada, that doesn't mean one should neglect the study and comprehension of Mahayana texts and then emphasizing more in the study of Theravada. So these two, verse number 27 and 28, is a sort of a moderating. This 27th one is looking down on Theravada, and 28 is almost we are completely engaged in study of them while neglecting the Mahayana. So there is that kind of extremes. So here one needs to, while one is really respectful of Theravada scriptures, and one will never say they are that one shouldn't study them, but at the same time one shouldn't study too much of the Theravada to the extent of ignoring Mahayana. So these are the two vows, that is because this is a vow pertaining to perfection of wisdom. So you have to have the wisdom of showing that. Then the 29th is spending excessive time and energy in non-Buddhist scriptures without good reason to study them, and neglecting the study and practice Buddhist teachings. So the 29th one is that one shouldn't study too much of the mundane subjects. There is a sort of there is the danger of Buddhist thinking, Buddhist people, Mahayanists becoming scientists, learning science, and to the extent of that is not necessarily maybe in your profession or your whatever. If you have to do that as a job, then it doesn't mean that. It does not mean you can't study them. You should study and master them, but not to the extent of neglecting your study of Mahayana teachings. So therefore, one should balance one's time so that it is not given entirely excessively to do the study non-Buddhist tenets. Nowadays, there is a there is a little bit of movement among Tibetan Buddhism that monks and nuns should study science. So I think there must be some good reason, because this is mainly advocated by His Holiness Dalai Lama. But should the monks and nuns studying the science and subjects of that nature is going to cause some imbalance with the concerned monastics, Bodhisattva vow holders practice, then of course it would eventually amount to minor transgression. So of course individuals have to be a little bit careful to become not so-called Buddhist scientists, and in the end becoming more scientists than Buddhist. As some people have this tendency that Buddhism need to be complemented by science, but I don't know whether it will complement or it will jeopardize. So one should not expend excessive time and energy in studying non-Buddhist subjects or tenets. So that's an interesting point there, because there are so many fields of subject that are interesting, glittering temporarily for this life. But remember, Bodhisattva vow is studying and meditating and conducting the Bodhisattva way for the benefit of all sentient beings in many, many lives. So it's not just something very exciting for the five sense doors to study matter and science at the detriment of your study of Dharma. So it's referring to that. Number 30 is choosing to focus on or prefer to becoming attached to non-Buddhist scriptures instead of Buddha Dharma Mahayana as one's main focus. Yeah, so these are all connected really. So if one is giving a lot more time to focus on the study of matter or science or like that, these are non-Buddhist scriptures or non-Buddhist subjects, and while one's main focus of the Mahayana has been relegated. So that's why it is important that one doesn't read inappropriate doctrines that are contradictory to the Buddhist Mahayana Buddhist teachings. Because this may amount to oneself abandoning and losing faith in the Mahayana teachings. So that there is that kind of there's that kind of dangers. So one must not become too fond of those scriptures, like novels or various kind of inappropriate doctrine or books, if it's going to be detrimental to your interest and study of Mahayana teachings. So that's that. Then 31 is abandoning any part of Mahayana teachings. So that is really referring to the yeah, abandoning Mahayana teachings or gurus who teach Mahayana, and then criticizing them, and one totally give up studying the Mahayana teachings and the teacher and the subject they teach. So you can see how it will contradict the vow of Bodhisattva vow of practicing the perfection of wisdom, because one is losing kind of a respect to the Mahayana teachings and the guru and teacher and the subjects that is covered by that. So that's quite a dangerous one. And then the next one is praising oneself and belittling others out of anger. Yeah, so that's why, yeah, when one becomes a little bit too engrossed in non-Buddhist subjects, these all those fields of knowledge might give lots of boost of thinking I'm the expert, I'm the number one in these subjects, and in the whole universe world, that I'm one of the top expert in the fields of study, and one may praise oneself, and then start belittling others out of arrogance and anger. So of course this will contradict the whole precept of realizing the perfection of wisdom. Um, so much so to the 33 is that not attending Dharma teachings due to afflictive emotions such as arrogance, pride, and thinking that I know too much. I'm top person. I'm expert in the world in these fields of study. Why do I need to study this kind of old text, and therefore not attending teachings anymore, and not engaging in the discussion on the topics, or not attending pujas, ceremonies, thinking they are religious, and because one is a true rationalist, that one doesn't engage in those due to the academic and intellectual arrogance. So this definitely, you can see, it's any kind of modern study and academia in general promotes the egoism about how expert I am in this field of study. As one is the expert in one's own field of study, so much so that one becomes so bloated with the arrogance of one's expertise and knowledge, so much so that one sees the teachings of the Dharma as no longer interesting or useful. And so that's why if one places too much emphasis on intellectual and academic pursuit, then that could be detrimental to your knowledge and study and studiousness and fellowship with the fellow practitioner of the Dharma. So that's why there is that danger. There is that danger of losing that, of losing one's interest in the teaching. And then that's a 33. 34 is not respecting, yeah. 34 is not contemplating the deep meaning of the teachings and Guru saying, and instead judging, despising, criticizing them due to external appearance, quality of language, or speech. Yeah, people become so pedantic about small points, about the use of the language or use of the phrase, and they become so pedantic about how perfect the language ought to be. They become, because they might even have a little knowledge on linguistic or general, but they, instead of observing the humility of the disciple, but they develop some kind of a superior complex in through their prism of knowledge, through the lens of their academic arrogance, and therefore they may not actually pay attention to the very teaching and practices, and one instead judges them, criticize them. One become a very critic and despising these teachings and the languages in which they are taught. So that this will therefore will all contradict to the vows pertaining to perfection of wisdom. So these 34, up to number 34, 27 till the 34 are the vows that contradicts the sixth paramita, perfection of wisdom. So instead of becoming panacea, it becomes a poison. So therefore, one should not. Arrogance is the poison of knowledge. So we are trying to develop a knowledge that is panacea. But if one's intellectual and academic arrogance, in linguistic arrogance, how perfect everything should be, this kind of pedantic mind can actually go oneself to transgress the bodhisattva vows. So there's a good warning there. So that takes us as far as the number 34. And now there are 12 more vows, the secondary vows are left. And so now we have covered up to the 10th analogy, starting from the earth all the way to the panacea. So this covered the first 6 parameters. And now here, of course, rest of the 12, I would say 12 analogies that Maitreya has given constitute for instance, the next 4 constitute the 4 remaining parameters. I must say make remark briefly on them, even though these are not explicitly mentioned in the vows. But for instance, the 11th analogy is spiritual friend. Spiritual friend is one's teacher or colleagues or those who you study with, student and teachers. So these are spiritual friend. Spiritual friend is an analogy for you to remember these 7th paramita. 7th paramita is called upaya paramita. Upaya means skillful means. Skillful means perfection of skillful means. If we are ever going to be more skillful than before, it's because we have the bodhisattva teachers, spiritual friends. We become more helped and seasoned and recruited as a bodhisattva practitioner by the positive influence of the spiritual friend. So therefore, any skillfulness and how skillful we are developing and becoming is all dependent on the influence of a human spiritual teacher that we have had. So that's the 11th analogy, 7th paramita. Now the 8th paramita is pranidhana paramita. Pranidhana means aspirational, perfection of aspiration. The bodhisattvas should not be perfectionists to try to do everything what you can perfectly. The bodhisattvas will still find some people and places you could not quite help them as efficaciously as you want to be. At that stage, the bodhisattva resort to the 8th paramita. 8th paramita is making prayers. May I be able to come back to these sentient beings at a future date and never give up on any sentient being, but resort to prayer, like Samandabhadra prayer. And so that analogy that matches that is wealth, wealth is the 12th analogy. 12th analogy, wealth is to correspond to prayer. Those who offer prayers, they have wealth of hopefulness and and aspiration to benefit other sentient beings. They don't become so impatient, and they don't feel easily dissatisfied and discontented with their inability to help sentient beings. Those who they could not help today or help this situation today, they never give up on, but always include them in their prayers, which is a wealth of kindness and skillfulness to not to give up on any sentient being. So that's a very, very important eighth paramita. The ninth paramita is Bala paramita. Bala means power, really, and power is the analogy that matches the 13th analogy, the sun. The solar power, you know how powerful the sun is. All the solar farms, all the solar energy, the amazing how all creatures sleeping overnight in the fear of darkness, quickly as soon as morning sun rises, they wake up. It's got so much power. The Bodhisattva should always remember that we are much more boosted powerfully by remembering and practicing bodhicitta. So we should remember the sun as an analogy to empower and boost our power to stay very committed with bodhicitta motivation. That's the 13th one. So that's the 7, 8, 9. 10th paramita is the 10th paramita is primordial wisdom. Primordial wisdom, or you can call it, primordial wisdom. Jnana paramita. The jnana paramita, the analogy for that is that 14th analogy is music. And the primordial wisdom is the most important music. Like music is a universal language. Whoever hears, listen to music, never mind what languages and people play or sing, you will quickly feel enchanted and lifted by the spirit of the very I would say the melody of the music. Likewise, one who knows the primordial wisdom has the melody of the right view. So that's why. So that takes us all the way to the 14th analogy. 14th analogy brings you out of the 14th analogy that covers so far. The first 4 is the analogy of the wishing. The first 3 is the analogy of the wishing bodhicitta. Then the 4th one is analogy of collective analogy of all engaging perfection of engaging bodhicitta. Then from the analogy number 5 onwards up till the 14th is the 10 paramitas. So up to the 10 paramitas. And now we have 8 more analogies left. The 8 more analogies are the secondary analogies for the 10 paramitas again. But we have only 8 analogies left and 10 paramitas. So how come? So these are respectively as follows. I'll be a little bit be brief on this because these are secondary analogies for the 10 paramitas. Are 8 more analogies. And these are, first is for generosity. Generosity already have each of the 10 paramitas already have one primary analogies. Now the secondary analogy of generosity is king, number 15th. The king is the one who has the sovereign power over his subject. Likewise, person who practices generosity, generous person has a great command of respect, like the king. So therefore, king means ruler, a leader. Doesn't have to be monarchy. King means a ruler. Anyone who's a leader, who has a great command, everybody looks up and respect what he says. Likewise, generosity has amazing command over benefiting and calming and making peace to many people. So think of generosity as the second secondary analogy is the king. Now the secondary analogy, next parameter is a discipline, is the treasury. Again, treasury. One who has a discipline has an inexhaustible treasury. And then the secondary analogy of practice of the third parameter, perfection, patience, is highway. On the highway, on the road, they don't discriminate who comes, what small vehicle comes, truck comes, a mini car comes, or big limousine comes. All kinds of vehicles are tolerated by the highway. Likewise, whenever we see a road and highway, we should remember, oh, may my patience be like that of the highway. And 24 hours, whatever vehicle comes this way or that way or slow or fast, the road, highway never complain. Highway is very patient. So we should become inanimate like a highway as a bodhisattva, practicing patience. So that's why we should remember the road and highway we see. We should think of, oh, may my practice of patience be like the ever enduring, giving function of the highway or the road. So that's secondary analogy of patience. The secondary analogy of perfection of diligence is vehicle. Whatever vehicle you see, from bicycle to tricycle to the fast cars or airplanes, or all of these various forms of modern vehicles, whether they are some big vessels or huge vehicles or airplanes, whenever we see these vehicles, we should think, oh, may my practice of diligence be like this truck that drives thousands of miles and still never should show any sign of tiredness. So we should use the vehicles as a visible reminder of how Bodhisattva's practice of diligence ought to be. The secondary analogy of perfection of meditation is a reservoir. Every cities and towns have reservoir in which they get the drinking water, isn't it? I'm sure there are many cities and towns. All the cities and towns have reservoir. Even small country farms have their own water tank. So that whenever you see a reservoir, you should remember, oh, may my meditation be like the source of all quenching the thirst of universe. So our meditation should be like a reservoir. So reservoir is the secondary analogy of meditation. Primary analogy is meditation. Meditation is mountain, remember? And then the fifth perfection is the meditation. Meditation should be like that, a reservoir. Then the sixth one is wisdom. Wisdom's secondary analogy is divine drum. Divine drum is that we should see, every time you see a drum, we should remember that as a reminder of our Bodhisattva vows, that we should have the wisdom to beat the drum, to wake up sentient beings from the stupor of the sleepiness of ignorance and negativities, but wake up by the drumbeat of the wisdoms of meditating on the emptiness, perfection of wisdom. And then, so that takes us all the way to the 20th analogy. So now we got only two more analogies left. 21st analogy is river, and 22nd analogy is clouds. Now these two, river and clouds, have two parameters each. For instance, river is a joint secondary analogy for both skillfulness paramita and prayer paramita, upaya paramita and aspirational prayer, which is the pranidhana paramita. And then the 22nd, clouds, is a joint analogy of the perfection of power, bala paramita, and the bala paramita, and the 10th is primordial wisdom. So with this we have concluded the 22 analogies. These 22 analogies are are not just an universally very appealing analogies, is cross-culturally very significant. So it starts with earth all the way to the cloud. Earth is the wishing bodhicittas, the motivation, and the clouds is the power of bodhicitta. The Bala Paramita, the perfection of power of bodhicitta. And so between the earth and the clouds, everything in between, all 22 analogy is for us to remember. Because remember, talking about the 18 root vows and 46 secondary vows is so that we do not forget what vows they are. Now, in order that we don't forget, we are given these visible analogies from the earth, to the river, to the clouds, to the fire, to the music, the king, the road, vehicle, the reservoir, drum, spiritual friend, medicine, wealth, sun. You remember all this universal. If you look at these 22 analogies that Maitreya has listed or taught in the Mahayana Sutra Alankara, in which he gives the 22 analogies of bodhicitta. So why we gave the 22 analogies of bodhicitta is so that every time your feet is on the ground, you should think of the ground as a reminder of your bodhicitta vows. The motivation should be stable and firm like the earth. And when you see the clouds, you should see your wisdom, your power of bodhicitta, and your transcendental wisdom of the bodhicitta should be like clouds. The clouds has amazing power to create rain and give a big harvest. So we should have great bodhicitta, like compassion towards sentient beings, and then create cloud and then create a harvest. So that's why your bodhisattva vow and keeping of them, it's good to remember these vows in the teachings, but it's good to remember these 22 analogies and have a little symbols of the 22 analogies drawn in your prayer book or little notebook, and always make sure that these 22 analogies are 22 analogies of primary and secondary analogies for the 10 paramitas. Remember this. If you remember this, these are not mentioned here in Chandra Gomi's text or in Jitsun Trakpa Gyaltsen's commentary. I'm offering these 22 analogies in relation to the Bodhisattva vows because in the Mahayana ornament of the Sutra, which is one of the 5 signs of Maitreya text, it explicitly gives these 22 analogies of bodhicitta. Analogies of bodhicitta are universal analogies from the earth all the way to the cloud. So you can mention to Buddhist scholars, they say, what are the 22 analogies from the earth to the cloud? They will tell you what those 22, like I have explained. Why we have to remember these 22 analogies is so that we don't forget the bodhicitta vows, bodhisattva vows. Bodhisattva vows. Otherwise, when you go through each of the lists, they seem fairly similar, isn't it? Anyway, so this is something which our written notes does not provide. Anyway, so now we are going to move on to the remaining vows from 35 onwards. From 35 to 46, which are the 12 remaining vows, are vows in relation to perfection of discipline, because remember, Bodhisattva vow of helping others. It's remember I were talking yesterday, that the vows are 3 types. Those which one are prohibitive self-discipline, and those which are prescriptive self-discipline, those that we should do. And both the prohibitive precepts and prescriptive precepts has to be benevolent precepts. So these 12 last vows from 35 till the 46 are all belong to the third category, benevolent self-discipline of Bodhisattva vows. Benevolent means helpful to others. Even though you might observe certain vows, but it doesn't help anybody. It's just to make you feel that you're better than them or something. But Bodhisattva vow shouldn't be just something that you don't do, but it has got no benefit. You got to make sure that you have to benefit sentient beings. So that's why we are now going to go over the remaining 12. The 35th one is not helping sentient beings, yeah, in need of help, that you are able to give help, either due to anger or spite or carelessness or just laziness. So there are 8 such things, 8 such subcategories within this 35th vow. These are not helping someone doing purposeful work. So meaning we are not helping somebody who's really doing something good and making a decision about something positive who asks for help, So not helping sentient beings when they ask for help is a transgression. And second is not helping someone making a journey who needs help carrying things or for protection due to laziness. So this is, one cannot be lazy. As a helpful person should not lean on his laziness, but should go and help to someone making whatever journey or whatever they need to do. We should get up and go and help. If we do not help, if somebody really needs a help, it is Bodhisattva is transgressing his vows by not helping other sentient beings due to his laziness. And then the third is not teaching language or dharma if asked to. If some people ask the dharma or language, you should always teach them. Because if you teach them, it will help them. And so helping sentient beings, even if you know so many subjects, you have no knowledge. Most people are these days doing, what is it and for me? How much I get every hour. The Bodhisattva don't think like that. Bodhisattva cannot put a monetary value to the sacred teachings of the Buddha. So therefore, Bodhisattva should teach to help others who actually ask you to teach. You can't refuse to teach. You can share. You don't take the role of a high teacher or something. You say, look, we share the knowledge. It's very important. Not sharing is not helping. And then fourth is not doing work which may not be Dharma, but which is connected to Dharma when asked. Yeah. So if somebody really asks you to help, it may not look like Dharma work, but then you think, oh, that's not Dharma work, I don't help it. One should always help. Helping others is already a Dharma work, whether it's a Dharmic work or not. It might be something fairly mundane things on the surface for somebody, but being able to help somebody is a Bodhisattva vow. Fourth is not helping to protect another's possessions, house, temple, or their clothing if one has time and ability and is asked to do. If somebody asks us to do something, could you please water my garden when I'm away for 2 days? Can you please, feed my chooks? Or please, could you collect my mail? Or whatever somebody does ask, we should not helping them, saying I'm busy, I can't do, it's not my job. People become like that. That's a Bodhisattva should always help, particularly if people ask, whether it's their clothes that is online or whether it's their mail that's sitting in the mailbox and maybe getting wet or something. You should always go and help, Number 6 is not unifying a couple or stopping or a fight argument when asked. So if there are conflict between two people and they need to be reconciled, if you are in a role to mediate and harmonize them, not doing that is a transgression because you're not helping people who really needs help to reunite. Not going to a meal if one has time, ability to ask. So if somebody invite you to a meal or dinner or lunch, you should not refuse. So if one has time, one should go, because they might have a really great help. It really helped them to if you came. Otherwise, they feel a bit lonely. They really need a company. Bodhisattva at least need to give a company for a couple of hours. So not giving that kind of company is not helping other people. Yeah, and then number 8 is not going if invited to create merit, or for example, to a puja, if one has time. Yeah, so if somebody asks to invite you to do puja or do some other activities that really they need your company help, not going to that will amount to transgression of not helping sentient beings. So that's number 35. That's 35. It seems to me these are all related with the skillfulness, paramita of skillfulness. You have to be skillful to go, okay, I'll come, and make them feel really boosted morale. Their morale is boosted by your cooperation and willingness to help them. Yeah. 36 is the not helping sick people with material or service because of hatred, anger. So someone who's sick and we don't want to help them, we don't want to give them a call, we don't want to go on a visit, and so bodhisattva should always help someone who's sick, someone who's lonely, someone who's really has no other helpers. Bodhisattva should go and help. So not working to alleviate suffering of others. Number 37. One actually has a capacity to relieve difficulties in people's life, and that yet one doesn't want to work. It's other people's business. It's not my affair, and then one couldn't be bothered. So bodhisattva could not turn a blind eye, acting as though you don't know, you didn't see, nobody asked me. But when you can see they need help, they have suffering, they have completely in stress, and one doesn't want to do it. So not working to alleviate sufferings of other people is a transgression, basically. 37. And 37, because if you did, it will alleviate their sorrow or worries and anxiety. They say, oh, he said he will help, and then they become they find hope, and their wishes are fulfilled by your agreeing to do some help. That's the 37. 38 is not exhorting, correcting, teaching, or activating a lazy person or a person who does not distinguish virtue from non-virtuous action due to anger or laziness. So the bodhisattva should try very best to help other people, But if one is not exhorting, one is not correcting, one is not teaching, one is not activating, one is not giving a hand, that means one is failing to fulfill the bodhisattva's vow to help other sentient beings, So that's not showing any concern for others. 39 is not repaying the kindness of someone who has helped one materially or morally, because and we actually owe lots of kindness. We are indebted to kindness of our parents, for instance. But a lot of people don't want to do anything for their parents. They don't want to do anything. They just keep a big distance. Some people even deliberately estrange, and they're no longer doing anything for them. Firstly, it's a failure of one's filial duty. Secondly, as a bodhisattva, one should repay the kindness of the people. So some parents are kindness of giving us this life, this body, education, and who we are. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't the kindness of our parents. If mother really was not interested, she could have easily relinquished us, abandoned us. But she gave her 20, 30 years of her life to bring us up. So not repaying the kindness of people who have taught us, who have educated us, who have protected from cold and heat and danger, and over maybe some unfortunate experience happened towards which we are still angry to her, not repaying her kindness because we become so deluded in being so resentful over a small issue. There's lots of people like that. They're not talking to parents. They're avoiding the parents over whatever one or two issues that didn't go very well, and they completely forgot that many years of how much selfless, gracious kindness we have been showered by our parents. So, but even in some society, socially they will think it's abhorrent to neglect your parents like that. Who's our kindest people who have given all their life savings, protect us from danger, taught everything they knew, even those things they did not dare to use for their own youth, they poured all for our education, our upbringing. So not repaying their kindness is terrible shame. So it's a bodhisattva's transgressions. If neighbors would laugh at us not doing anything to repay kindness to parents, when parents are languishing in a hospital, very lonely, they never get a call from the children or visit. Why? But they're busy making money. They don't know how to repay the kindness. Even on a social level, most traditional society, they would expect the children to look after the parents. A bodhisattva practitioner should do additional to do that, additional than just that. So, not repaying the kindness of people. This is not talking about being generous to people who haven't done anything to us, but people who have given their whole life. Like most of our parents, given their best 20 years of their life to us. And yet, we are not repaying their kindness. So not repaying kindness of someone, here is just someone, but it could be parents, could be brother, could be your partner. Maybe some years ago, maybe you are no longer together, but still, it's never too late to repay the kindness, to tell them, saying, look, while we have walked different ways since then, but I still feel indebted to your kindness, and therefore repay the kindness. It's a very good thing to do. That's a bodhisattva. Bodhisattva can heal the other if you have the distance. So that's a really very important. 39 is that's 39. The 40 is the not alleviating the mental grief of others from separation from their dear ones or possessions because of harmful intent and laziness. Yeah. So if somebody have some grief or an anxiety or sadness and loss and loneliness and whatever they're going through, not spending time to look at their eyes and hold their hands and do small things to make them feel that someone cares about them, not doing that and just ignoring, no, I can't be bothered, no, I'm not up to it, I'm so lazy, I've got so many things, and not doing anything to alleviate those who have grief and sorrow or hope. They really wish you visited them. They wish you could spoke kindly to them, but yet we are not. We just wouldn't. We just have some interesting things just to please our five sense doors. We don't want to go emotionally so demanding, things like that. So not alleviating mental grief of others who have lost their home, who have lost their job, who have separated from their loved ones due to their own collective childishness, and they have lost their possessions, lost their positions, and they really need you, but you couldn't be bothered to do anything. Why? Because you are lazy. You just couldn't be bothered. You're not up to helping anybody else. You see, I'm myself completely in this mess. How can I help? And then discourage oneself and make oneself feel not up to helping somebody. Even if you just give them a call, it might alleviate their worries and anxiety and grief, you wouldn't believe. I know some student of mine years ago, when they were really not up to much helping others. But I said, look, in order to make your time meaningful, you can do some lifeline. In Australia, they call lifeline, with the people who are going to drop in stress. They can call this number, and then they give advice, counseling. I say you should do that. You wouldn't believe how much it will help you and help others. And I know people who start doing that. They found they may do only half an hour a week, but at least when they do that, to console, to comfort, to listen, and not judge them, and doing that is a bodhisattva work. Bodhisattva work doesn't have to be noticed by whole world. It could be just a couple of difficult people they don't have anybody to turn to, just to give a little friendship, and that is a bodhisattva vow. But not doing that is a transgression. 42. Not working for the physical and spiritual welfare of members of one's circles, like disciples, relatives, friends, co-workers. Yeah. If you can go and do something for them, that would be good. Because they are within the circle of your concerns. People that you know, people that they would have some kind of expectation. As a next of kin, they call it. You might want to claim the deceased person's kind of estate, saying that you are next of kin. But when they're alive and going through difficulty, we are nowhere to be seen. What is the next of kin? You're worst of the kin, because you're not willing to do anything when they need us, need them physically. Maybe read a story, maybe just do something, water their garden, feed their pet, and small things like that. If you did that, it would not transgress your vows. But not willing to do anything for the sake of others, saying that, well, I have no energy. One actually has. You wouldn't believe how much people value you. You are needed. You should think, I'm needed. I can make a little bit of difference, so that the next person who comes doesn't have to do the heavy lifting if I did little bit. There's lots of people do like this too. We are here. It is just precaution, that not ignoring those things is a transgression of your vows. So we should remember how not to forget these things. Now, 43 is not acting in consideration of others' wishes, feeling if doing so does not bring harm to oneself or others. So this is being very inconsiderate of others, other people's wishes. Even if we have to do something for the consideration of others, as long as it does not harm you and others, why can't you do that? So you should go and do it, and there's no harm to you or to other people. So you do it just because it benefits them. We're meant to be able to benefit us. May all beings have happiness, the cause of happiness. So the cause of happiness might be just doing small things like that. It makes them happy, because you did do that for them, so they don't have to go out or do that because of their age, their inconvenience, their disability, or their whatever it is. If you did it, and then it gives them so much hope and comfort. And this is ripening and helping sentient beings. But a bodhisattva, it's a commitment to do that. It's a privilege. It's a pleasure. Now, when one has no pleasure to be considered other, that's when the bodhisattva is now transgressing all his vows. So that's the 43. And the 44 is not praising good quality of others, especially learned and the realized beings. Yeah. If someone has many qualities, maybe they're very generous, very diligent, very hardworking, very patient, very, very careful, very, very giving, very, very thoughtful. Whatever they do, you should always praise them. You should acknowledge them for the little things they did and are doing. When you do that, then it helps them, it motivates them, it inspires them. So therefore, thanking each other and acknowledging small deeds people do, not thinking it's a society or some people in authority should do. Everybody can thank. Like say, when you go through the customs, you can thank the custom people because they don't want to go through anybody's luggage, but they're trying to do something for the benefit of everybody. Thank them. And years ago, when I went to New Zealand, New Zealand custom lady opened my bag and she really wanted to search me in and out. And she almost felt very bad at the end because I haven't got anything. Then I actually thanked them. She said, "Thank you. Nobody thanked me doing this." I really felt for her because she has to do something like that with every person that she has a reason to think she should. And I thanked her, and I mean, of course, they're trying to do the right thing, so that nothing narcotic or durable substance materials from one part of the country or from other country to another country is imported. They're trying to prevent harm in the society. So therefore, we should praise their work. We should thank them. So that's why it's not praising the good quality of others. Either, maybe one is too miserly. One thing, no, what he does very little. Is not worth of praising, is it? We think their deeds isn't big enough to be praising. So even small acts of kindness should be praised, should be inspiringly acknowledged. That's what it's talking about. Number 45 is not preventing whatever means unnecessary according to circumstances of those doing harmful actions from their continuing actions. So if somebody is doing something negative, in harmful, and then we just ignore it, not doing anything. If we are in a position to prevent them or dissuade them, we should. So we shouldn't think, oh, it doesn't matter, that doesn't concern me, it's none of my business type of thing. It is our business. We can prevent someone from doing harm to themselves and others. Harm minimization is a bodhisattva's precept. Bodhisattva try to may all beings be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. So if we can prevent them from creating suffering to themselves in today or in the future or to oneself and others, we should try to skillfully do something about it. Not doing anything, not preventing when you can, and ignoring them, even though they are doing mess of something, let them do, and you just don't care about it. It's saying that's none of my business type of thing. And that is a bodhisattva's neglect. Neglectful bodhisattva transgress his vows of helping sentient beings. If you can intercept somebody and then they come to realize, I'm glad you prevented me, otherwise I would have gone completely unnoticed, uncorrected by anybody. Thank you for stopping me where you did stop me. In the long run, there's more likelihood of they being able to help. Basically we're talking about how to keep a watchful eye, like a kind of spiritual police, how to prevent someone doing from harmful things to himself or to others in the future. And if we are in a position to dissuade them, prevent them, we should try our best. Last one is, if one possesses extra physical power, not using them to stop others engaged in non-virtuous action to enhance others' affairs. So this is the same thing. If you have a particular physical power or strength, and you are not bothering to do anything to prevent someone doing harmful things, so then we neglect. We're very neglectful. Bodhisattva should always be on the watchful eyes. If you could be in a position to stop someone doing harm and danger and catastrophic harmful to themselves and others in the long run, and we should be quick in learning how to prevent them from succeeding to do anything damage or harmful to others. So bodhisattva should not be hiding away and practice like a disengaged Buddhist. So we should be very engaged. Remember, all these vows are about the engaged bodhicitta. So with this, we have now concluded the all the secondary 46 secondary vows, which are related to each of the 6 parameters, and particularly the vows of ripening sentient beings. So with this, we will now have a short 15-minute break, and then after that, I will be able to do the Bodhisattva vow ceremony, which is very auspicious thing to do, because we talked about the Bodhisattva root vows and secondary vows in length. I didn't use the actual root text of Chandragomi. I rather use the extracted meaning of the 18 root vows and 46 secondary vows. So explaining through that, and because up till verse number 8 of the 20 verses, it's all about how you should take the Bodhisattva vow, how you should prevent them from transgression, how one may be able to restore the Bodhisattva vows if they're broken, and things like that. That's fairly easy to read. Anybody can read. So that's why we didn't bother to go into that text, nor for word comment reading of the Dragpa Gyaltsen's commentary. So we went through specific listing of the 18 root vows and the 46 secondary vows. Now the Bodhisattva vow ceremony we have opportunity to conduct tonight, and even though I'm going to do the short, simple version of it, but nevertheless there's a little bit of understanding necessary what constitute taking and receiving the Bodhisattva vows, how that can be solemnized. So we'll be able to explain all of that. So in the meantime, we'll have a break here. Thank you very much. I'll see you in 15 minutes time.
Thank you very much, dear Rinpoche. Dear friends, text of prayers to take the Bodhisattva vows and the list of vows in different languages can be downloaded in the Zoom chat. After the break, Rinpoche will give the ceremony based on the text which you have in the chat. Also, on Tuesday, Rinpoche will give very important teachings on purifying negative karma and explanation of practice Heruka Vajrasattva sadhana. See you after this break in 10 minutes. Thank you. Dear translators, please start recording. Dear translators, please start recording. Dear friends, all the texts are in Zoom chat. Dear Rinpoche La, we are ready to start. Thank you.
Hello, welcome back again, everyone. Now this is the moment during which we have the opportunity to go through the ceremony of receiving the Bodhisattva vows. We have already gone through what constitute the Bodhisattva's vows, and knowing which the Bodhisattva vows are, recognizing them, then learning to remember them, and it's a great blessings. Taking Bodhisattva vow is a great blessings. Without the Bodhisattva vows, you cannot practice Mahayana teachings general. You can of course practice, but without the vow, your blessings and merit of practicing Mahayana teaching is jeopardized. So the one who takes the Bodhisattva vows and then practice the Mahayana teachings, then has enormous merit. It's like a person who's registered his car and then he drives, he's licensed to drive. Otherwise, he's driving his car without registration is not legal, can accrue lots of problems. So if your car is insured and you are registered and so on, it has a lot of benefits. So taking Bodhisattva vows has enormous merit. So today, on the 9th day of the Saga Dawa, which is a month of many million fold merits, and the meritoriousness of the Saga Dawa is one thing, but taking Bodhisattva vow is a completely different. Altogether, more the merrier. So therefore, having spent the last few sessions with us, going through the Bodhisattva vows, listening to them, becoming familiarized with them, and that's why Sakya Friends took great effort to make the list of the vows detailed as they have been prepared, with some explanation I try to offer. You all have the list before you, so you can always use the Bodhisattva vows and try to remember which are the things, vows that will go to boost your practice of each of the paramitas. What are the vows that we should take caution from transgressing them? Even if you did experience some minor transgressions, they can be confessed, purified when during empowerment, or during your sadhanas, or even just mentally by yourself. So there's a number of ways to do that. So I would like to commend all of you to have given your valuable time to take the Bodhisattva vows here tonight. This Bodhisattva vow has two: a relative Bodhisattva vow and ultimate Bodhisattva vow. The ritual for the relative Bodhisattva vows has different schools of thought. There is a Chitta Matra in mind only school Bodhisattva vow ceremony, and then there is a middle way Bodhisattva ceremony. Then there is a combined ceremony of the mind only school and middle way school. And so in that it says the preferably Bodhisattva vow should be facilitated by a senior master or practitioner. But then another school of thought says, because Bodhisattva vow is a mental vow, you can take yourself the Bodhisattva vows in the presence of holy image of the Buddha, or some stupas or holy places in your shrine, in front of your shrine, and you can solemnly take the Bodhisattva vows too. So that the ceremony is basically constitute creating a little bit of merit, purify your negative karmas, taking refuge, calling for the attention of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas bear witness to you, and so then you actually take the Bodhisattva vows from not the teacher who is conducting the ceremony. You take the Bodhisattva vows from the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and with the company of the senior teacher or teacher who is going to do with you together. Like in this case, I will be taking the Bodhisattva vows, renewing Bodhisattva vows with you in front of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So sometimes the Buddhist text gives the impression, as you receive the Bodhisattva vow from the person who is conducting the ceremony. Actually, it's not. You may get some kind of positive blessings of his or her years of acquaintance with the practice of Bodhisattva teachings, and whatever knowledge and whatever command of power of confidence and faith that person who's conducting ceremony may have can be transmitted energy-wise, and therefore will greatly bless you. But primarily, you receive the Bodhisattva vows from all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who bear witness to you. So it will be made clear as I go through each of the prayers together in a little while. So firstly, I would like you to take a comfortable seat and reflect briefly as follows. Firstly, think that we have wandered in the cycle of samsara so many lifetimes, who knows since when, up till now, under the sway of selfishness. And it is this root cause of suffering is selfishness, and not practicing selflessness, but practicing completely selfishness. And this must stop. And so feel sorry and sad that what time has been wasted in doing everything self-centeredly. Now we must discard that selfishness as a poison. Even samsara, so-called full of suffering, is caused by the self-centeredness of ourselves. Samsara is a manifestation of our own selfishness. So unless we overcome selfishness, there is no renunciation of samsara. So to represent a renunciation of samsara, tonight we are going to vow to discard selfishness as a poison and adopt bodhichitta as the medicine that can cure our selfishness. And then we make a vow, we pledge in front of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas so that we too will follow the steps and the discipline of practicing Bodhisattva vows as much as the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the past have done. We will follow that suit. And we are asking of their witness, bear the witness. So that's point number one. So please reflect briefly whatever conviction you have of the demerit of selfishness. You must learn to renounce that. And whatever merit of bodhicitta and selflessness and loving kindness and compassion that you believe, you must totally solemnize. Solemnize means you need to pledge to honor that on this auspicious evening with so many Dharma friends joining us from so many countries, many languages. We all have a very collective merit to take bodhisattva vows together, and therefore this is an excellent opportunity to celebrate our life and commend our own life and thank our parents and thank our last many years of difficulties in samsara, all well worth it. Afterwards, after all, we have now found the gem of the bodhicitta, and we are going to make a vow to cherish this vow and wholeheartedly remember what the vows are and guard them by using the 22 analogies so that we do not forget bodhicitta. So hence rejoice that we have fed, clothed, and looked after ourselves these many years, faced many hardships. All the hardships are well worth it. All the difficulties are well worth it. Now we have finally found the bodhicitta and opportunity to take it. So feel joyful that from here onwards you shall not do ill will. You shall not do resentment. You shall not do miserliness. You shall not do lack of discipline. You shall not do anger. You shall not do laziness. You shall not do scattered mind and restless mind, and you shall not waste time in reading and studying not so useful doctrines, but the Mahayana sutras and their commentaries. You know exactly what you're vowing here to, so therefore think great, rejoice your life so far, and thank your past, your parents, and rejoice all their blessings, and you feel resolute to repay the kindness as a bodhisattva. You should think like that. One will not behave selfishly or childishly as one has done in the past from today onwards, because we're going to honor our words. So with this in mind, you should rejoice. At the same time, think about the law of impermanence and death, how inevitable death is. So many people have been born and died uselessly, meaninglessly. Thank goodness we are able to take the Bodhisattva vows before we die. Excellent, we haven't died this far. So remembering this, that we have opportunity to take the Bodhisattva vows is an excellent thing. Even if we were to die very soon, our life and our consciousness will be blessed, and our mind stream will be blessed with the bodhicitta. And even at the moment of the last breath, as well as in the bardo, if we can remember bodhicitta, that will completely take us out of the bardo realm and thus find a place in Sukhavati or pure realm. So have firm belief in this and thank yourself. Rejoice your good stock of merit, and rejoice all the fellowship of our friends gather here together to take these Bodhisattva vows. Should you have the good luck left to live a few more years, few more decades, healthily, and so on, you have now great honor to live them more meaningfully as the child of the Buddhas, and therefore your life has become completely meaningful. You are born again as a second chance to live as a bodhisattva by taking these bodhisattva vows. So with this encouragement, now before we take the bodhisattva vows, think in the space before you, or the holy presence of the fully enlightened Shakyamuni Buddha, past Buddhas like Karkuchanda, Kanakamuni, Kashyapa, as well as 35 Buddhas of the Confession, 7 Medicine Buddhas, and all the 8 Bodhisattvas, all the Arhats, all the lineage gurus, all the pantheon of deities and yidams that you can possibly imagine. They're all right before you, almost that you can feel the pulsating feeling, like you are in the presence of the audience with His Holiness Dalai Lama. You know, people feel so trembling and joy. Like try to feel that you are in the presence of all the enlightened ones before us, and then we will, if possible, you should get up and do 3 prostrations with me, as I will do 3 prostration. In the long ceremony, you do many prostrations, but here we will suffice with the 3 prostrations before we go and read go through the texts one by one. So try to imagine you are in the presence of the omniscient Buddhas with the wisdom, with the compassion, with the power. They can see exactly how well-meaning we are in our intent, and therefore we ask the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to bear witness and bestow us the blessings to not only receive but also and guard the vows. But we will first take the refuge 3 times, and then after 3 prostrations, so we all go through verse by verse slowly. But because of the nature of the presentation, I will do 3 prostration, then come and sit here so that I'm facing you with the camera. Otherwise, ideally, I should be facing up to the shrine as well. So I can imagine my shrine is right before me. So with this in mind now, I ask everyone to rise up and do 3 prostration. The prostration is usually done by joining your 2 hands, touch on the crown in order to achieve the highest goal of enlightenment. And then touch your forehead. I'll confess all the negative karma of my body. Please bless me, give me the blessings of holy body of the Buddhas. And then as you touch your folded hands at the throat, you confess and lay bare all negative karma created by bad mouthing and bad speech. We promise to never engage in such chatter from the mouth, but ask the Buddhas to give us the blessings of their holy speech. And likewise, when you touch your 2 hands at the heart, you from your deep depth of your heart, you pay homage and pay respect to the qualities of Buddha's wisdom, compassion, and power, and confess all our covetousness, greediness, ill will, wrong view, all negative thoughts. We confess. With this in mind, we ask to bless our mind to be devoid of those, and becomes convenient to receive the Bodhisattva vows and keep in our heart. So with this in mind, we will now rise and do 3 prostration. When we're doing 3 prostration, I will say Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Just those three times. That means homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to Sangha, because we are doing the prostrations. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhamaya, Dhamaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhamaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya. Now, if it's convenient, you can kneel down. At least, if not seated, be seated in a respectful posture with your hands at the heart. And then we will read. You will actually Firstly, you repeat after me. Um, Basically, we're reading one after another. First verse. O Buddhas, fully enlightened blessed ones, dwelling in the 10 directions, bodhisattvas, and great bodhisattvas, abiding on the 10 stages, great Vajra holder gurus, please pay attention to me. Now first take refuge in the Triple Gem. Until the heart of enlightenment is reached, I go for refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and in the assembly of bodhisattvas. I offer my body, whatever I own, virtues and merits of the 3 times, without any attachment, for the sake of all sentient beings. For the second time, O Buddhas, fully enlightened blessed ones, dwelling in the 10 directions, bodhisattvas and the great bodhisattvas, abiding the 10 stages, great Vajraholder gurus, please pay attention to me. Until the heart of enlightenment is reached, I go for refuge in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and the assembly of bodhisattvas. I offer my body, whatever I own, virtues and merits of 3 times, without any attachment, for the sake of all sentient beings. For the third time, O Buddhas, fully enlightened blessed ones, dwelling in the 10 directions, bodhisattvas and the great bodhisattvas, abiding on the 10 stages, the great Vajraholder gurus, please pay attention to me. Until the heart of enlightenment is reached, I go for refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and in the assembly of bodhisattvas. I offer my body, whatever I own, virtues and merits of 3 times, without any attachment, for the sake of all sentient beings. So now I will, as I snap the finger, as soon as you hear the snap the finger, I will say tap in. Tap in means this is the way. Means this is the correct way to receive refuge vows. And then you say leg so, or in Sanskrit you say sadhu. In English you say well done. And then whatever your language is, you can say that. Because here you are now received the refuge vows. Tawin. You say leg so or sadhu. Through this now you should rejoice you have received the refuge vows. And the refuge vows are usually here. Usually sometimes the name is given. If you already got a refuge names, Dharma names, you should renew that and think that you have now received the refuge names. And imagine that your little bit of hair is cut, and then you have now received the refuge vows. Refuge vows is a fundamental before you take the Bodhisattva vows. So that's why we have to do the refuge vow there. And now we are going to take the Bodhisattva vows. Now you are taking the Bodhisattva vows by yourself mentally, but in the presence of the holy ones who are bearing witness to us, and the role of me and all your other fellow friends are all together taking the Bodhisattva vows. Okay? So with this in mind, we will repeat the paragraph 3.2022. This why we call 3.22 is these verses are extracted from Shanti Deva's Bodhisattva's way of life. And it has 10 chapters, and most of these verses are extracted from third chapter. So that's why the third chapter, verse number 22 onwards. We will repeat the verse number 3.22 three times. Okay? Just as the Buddhas of the past have generated the bodhicitta, then trained in the stages of bodhisattva training, so too I do generate bodhicitta to help those who wander and shall train in the stages of bodhisattva training. For the second time, just as the Buddhas of the past have generated bodhicitta, then trained in the stages of bodhisattva training, so too do I generate bodhicitta to help those who wander in samsara and shall train in the stages of bodhisattva training. For the third time, just as the Buddhas of the past have generated bodhicitta and then trained in the stages of the bodhisattva training, so too I do generate bodhicitta to help those who wander in samsara and shall train in the stages of bodhisattva training. So that's the actual the repetition of the bodhisattva vow. Now we're going to read each of the verse here. Next one, when we repeat the next verse, verse number 303.24, and now we should rejoice the fact that we have given rise bodhicitta, and we should now become, as we have now matured intellectually, emotionally, we are intelligent, and we should now nurture to resolve to keep the promise of the bodhisattva vows according to the wishes and vows we have made. So thinking of that, we recite the verse number 3.24. Thus, upon gladly adopting the mind of awakening bodhicitta, an intelligent person should thus nurture the resolve in order to fulfill the wishes. Now at this point, when we read the next verse, you should think that our life has many sharp twists and difficulties, up and down, and almost some people have wished they died and they didn't have to go through those difficulties. But today, by virtue of all past collective merit, we have made our life meaningful, and our life has become well-earned. Human rebirth that was precious is now made doubly precious because we have taken the Bodhisattva vow. And therefore, we are now born in the race of the Buddhas. We are born in the families of the Buddhas, and because of that, we should call ourselves as a child Bodhisattva. Child Bodhisattva, You should call, I think Mahayana Buddhist tradition, I'm sure the Mahayana Chinese Buddhist tradition very strong. When they take the Bodhisattva vows, they call each other brother and sisters. So now we all become the children of the same parents, Buddhas, and we are all child of Bodhisattvas. So thinking of this mind, rejoicing this, we will now read the verse number 3.25. Now my life has become fruitful with a well-earned human existence. Today I have born into the family of the Buddhas, have awakened my Buddha nature. Now I am a spiritual child of the Buddha. So now rejoice. Now from today onwards you can say, I'm a Bodhisattva child. We are Bodhisattva. We have Bodhisattva is one who's generated the bodhicitta, It's like you now, you have said, yes, I am, I do. You have said, I do honor the Bodhisattva vows you have made. Therefore you are Bodhisattva. And here now one should resolve that from here onwards, whatever understanding we have of the 18 root vows and 14 6 secondary vows of the Bodhisattva vows, all of that we will try to engage, actualize through our words, deeds, most important through our intention, that is concordant or harmonious with the Bodhisattva's trainings and conduct. I must make sure that I do not bring shame by staining this pure family of the Bodhisattvas. So therefore I must abstain. All the thou shalt not. I shall practice all the thou shalts of the each and every paramitas, and I shall remember all the 22 analogies, so that I do not forget my Bodhisattva vows. And thus I shall keep my Bodhisattva pure and stainless. So with this in mind, we will solemnly recite the verse number 3.26. Now whatever actions I may engage, they ought to be concordant with the Bodhisattva's traits and lineage, so that I do not stain this pure family. Incredible. Now once you have made this amazing feeling of joyful, you are just completely surprised. Like you have no word. You become speechless, because it's like a blind person who's been always looking the pile of rubbish, usually find nothing significant. But today he found a piece of jewel. Like that, we have fumbled ourselves in the pile of rubbish of samsara's material possessions, name, fame, relationships, status, positions, possessions, looks, youth, intelligence, expertise. All of that is just like a pile of rubbish. But today we have found bodhicitta among all of that, and so therefore we have to recognize that we have finally risen where everybody is falling amid the pile of rubbish. We have now risen up with the bodhicitta, and then feel great delight and read the verse number 3.27. Just as a blind person might find a jewel in a pile of rubbish, so this resolve of bodhicitta has somehow arisen in me. So now rejoice the fact how incredibly precious a treasure, an inexhaustible wealth, an amazing elixir that can frighten the Lord of Death, that we have now found the real jackpot of life's search, and we will alleviate all kinds of poor me mentalities and poverty's mentality. With this in mind, now think that you are so rich. There is one story of Kunu Lama Rinpoche. This Kunu Lama Rinpoche is a Lahul, the place near Ladakh, Indian state, and he was a very great Buddhist scholar. And he went to Tibet, spent 30 years, came back in the late 50s to India. He was master of all Tibetan Buddhist traditions, and then he came back to India, became a lecturer in Sanskrit University, but later on then he just gave up everything and became a hermit, became a kind of wanderer, yogi. And he mixed himself with all the Indian holy men, sadhus, and living in the streets and gutters of the Varanasi. And he gave up everything, and there he was pretending he's one of the other, his fellow Indians. He's of course a Buddhist Mahayan, a Buddhist practitioner. And he was always sleeping on the street with the others, looking very poor and weak. One day, one of his villagers who was traveling in Varanasi recognized him. And he was so sad to see Kunu Rinpoche looking so poor and weak and sleeping on the street. And he quickly went to him, saying he introduced himself and tell him, "What can I bring for you? You look so miserable. Can I get something?" And then to this Kunu Rinpoche replied. He says, "I don't need anything. I have bodhichitta. I don't need anything. You don't feel pity on me. Please don't bring anything to me because I have bodhichitta. Please don't feel pity on me." It's like that. Today we should feel that we have now discovered the bodhichitta and always feel honored. So thinking of this, you should recite the verse 3.28. It is indeed the excellent elixir to destroy the lord of death of worldly beings. It is also the inexhaustible treasure to alleviate the poverty of the world. Not only is that, but bodhicitta is like a panacea. Remember we were saying panacea, the medicine. It will cure all illnesses of poverty, loneliness, worry, anxiety, fear of death, all this ordinary, when you have bodhicitta, it will cure all the problems. It is the magnificent shade under which you can rest and find true peace from the hard journey of samsara, and you will find real peace and solace. Whenever you think of bodhicitta and its merit and remember the 22 analogies, you will find this peace and solace. So reflecting on that, let's read 3.29. It is the supreme panacea that will cure the illness of the world. It is the magnificent tree in the shade of which the beings who are exhausted from the journey of worldly existing may find peace and solace. And next, read the next verse. It is the perfect bridge that liberated all beings from the miserable states of existence. It is the arising of the moon of the enlightened mind that soothes the sorrows born of the mental afflictions. Again, next line. It is the great sun dispelling the darkness of world's ignorance. It is the pure butter formed from churning the milk of Dharma. Here it's referring to bodhicitta, yeah? For the caravan of beings traveling on the path of mundane existence and starving for the meal of happiness, it is the feast of happiness that satisfies all sentient beings who have come as guests. So now from here onwards we should always have ample things to share and give to sentient beings who are always our guest, and we are always the gracious host. So now that we have taken and received the Bodhisattva vows, we should let the gods and the demigods and the local protectors and all the cities, everybody should celebrate and rejoice. And so we are announcing, we're announcing to the world that that today I am now invited to attain enlightenment by conceiving bodhicitta, and my enlightenment is guaranteed for the benefit of all sentient beings. So with this in mind, we will read the verse number 3:33. Having today invited the world to attain enlightenment in the presence of all the protectors, may the gods, demigods, and others rejoice. So now we come to the very famous dedication merits, also by Shantideva. The verse number hasn't been identified, but it's Shantideva's verse. May the supreme bodhicitta that has not risen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen never diminish, but increase more and more. This one verse is very profound. It is the quintessence of the entire Bodhisattva's 10 chapters. Because the first few chapters focus on the merit of the Zen bodhicitta and need to confess the negative karma of not having bodhicitta, and then therefore that's called not arisen. In the previously we have not given rise to bodhicitta because of our bad karma, and then we give rise to bodhicitta in the chapter 3, and then chapter 4 we practice heedfulness, we make it grow, and then chapter 5, 6, 7 and 8, then may that which has arisen never diminish. Through diligence, through meditation, we make sure the bodhicitta is the mindfulness of all mindfulness. And then by having the right view in the 9th chapter, and the dedication merits in the 10th chapter, may the bodhicitta increase more and more. So this verse actually encapsulate all the 10 chapters of the bodhicitta. And then there is now the very famous prayer by Shantideva. This is in the 10th chapter. 10th chapter is a chapter of prayers, dedication. So here now the Bodhisattva says, so let's read the verse number, that unmarked number between 333. After 333, let's read that together. May the supreme bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen never diminish, but increase more and more. I will recite this once in Tibetan. Chanchu semjo rinpoche magye panama jejuro jeba nyamba mebai kone gondo bewarajo. Now the last verse here is that very famous prayer by Shantideva. Since we have taken the Bodhisattva vows, we do not have any urgency to leave the samsara, because we will remain as long as the space endures, as long as all sentient beings they remain. May we too, remain in this world in order to abide in the world, to dispel sorrows and miseries of all living beings. So we are here to remain in the world, relieving sufferings of sentient beings, never running away from sentient beings. So this is very famous verse. Let's read that together. For as long as space endures, and for as long as living beings remain, until then may I too abide to dispel the sufferings of living beings. So with this we have concluded the Bodhisattva vow ceremony here tonight on the really 9th of the Saga Dawa day. Saga Dawa is now 1 week and 2 days old, and so on the auspicious occasion of Saga Dawa, and at the conclusion of the complete teachings on the Bodhisattva vows, with the company of so many hundreds of people around the world, with so many senior Bodhisattva friends who previously may already have received Bodhisattva vows or during receiving empowerment, and we too have been able to join them all. Therefore, it is a very enormous merit. We should rejoice and celebrate, and give yourself a good treat or something to make a cup of tea or some soft drink, and dedicate and rejoice and congratulate to each other, and remember to remember that we have become bodhisattva, and we must remember the 22 analogies from the earth, from the gold, but because all what do you mean by the earth is we always standing on earth, yeah. So we never far away from earth. We never will forget the earth, because earth is always what we are standing on. And the last example is the cloud. First example is earth, and the last is cloud. Anything in between, gold, river, vehicles, sun, the fire, treasure, and all of those things. We must always look at the earth every time, how stable she is. Likewise, our intention. We should always remember bodhicitta looking at the Mother Earth. We should always look at the waxing moon and remember the bodhicitta. We should look at the highways and always remember bodhicitta. We should look at the rivers and always remember the bodhicitta. We will look at the sun and always remember bodhicitta. And we should look at the vehicles, cars, the many cars traveling, airplanes traveling. May we be able to ferry and transport all sentient beings by practicing bodhicitta. So use all of those 22 analogies. You can never leave them behind. Wherever you go, you are standing on the feet, standing your feet on the earth. You're always using fire. You're always wearing gold. If you wear any gold, my dear, like I have a necklace of gold given by my late teacher, and I always remember that as a tangible way to keep the bodhicitta and quality of bodhicitta pure like gold. So if you wear any jewelry like diamond, you should use the diamond to remember bodhicitta. Yeah, and when you see the sun, remember that our bodhicitta should be like that. When you see the cool shade, when you see the rivers, when you see the highway, when you see the vehicles, yeah, all these should be 22 analogies we should remember, and therefore all the 18 root vows and 46 secondary vows are covered by these 22 analogies. So what a great opportunity, at the very insistence, repeated insistence of Oleg and Juliana from Sakya Friends, I have been persuaded to do the ceremony with you. This is of course not first time I've done before, but of course Bodhisattva vows are received exclusively short ceremony like we have gone through. The long ceremony is conducted with a lot of prayers and rituals and all the kind of things which I'm not able to do because of the lack of many orchestra. Also, Bodhisattva vow can be received during each empowerment. Each empowerment we renew our bodhicitta, wishing bodhicitta, engaging bodhicitta, ultimate bodhicitta. But ultimate bodhicitta actually cannot be received through the ceremony. You only realize through in the meditation. So in any way, it has been very great that we have been able to do this. Thank you, everybody. Now we're going to do the dedication merits, and may we be able to remember tonight and other opportunities, by the blessings of the unbroken Buddha Dharma and Mahayana Buddhist teachings. Mahayana Buddhism is very strong in our Northeast Asian countries. Every time I look at the Mahayana Buddhist people's practice, like observing strict vegetarian, I can recognize this is how the Mahayanas should never eat meat and live the pure life of harmlessness. When I see the East Mahayana Buddhist country like Chinese, the Vietnamese, and Koreans, Buddhists observing the amazing pure vegetarian, as well as our Indians, I always rejoice. This is the positive influence of observing the Bodhisattva vows. So we have very good reason to learn from each others, each communities, because Bodhisattva vow does not have lineages, does not have schools. How what a relief. There's only they say the vast lineage and profound lineage coming from the Madhyamika, middle way, and mind only school. And this kind of ceremony is combination, union of both mind only as well as the middle way lineage. And we don't say this come from Sakya or Gelug or Nyingma or Kagyu. We say this is the Bodhisattva lineage. I'm sure the Bodhisattva lineage that is in the Chinese Mahayana Buddhism and Japan all came from the great luminaries of the Indian Mahapanditas like Nagarjuna, the Asanga, Shantideva and Atisha, all of them are involved. So there's no such a lineage system. They're all one Bodhisattva lineage. This brings us all as one big family. So never feel alone and feel great, joyful that we have been able to solemnize this together. Thank you very much. So with this, we will now do the dedication of merits. Oh, by this merit, da defa may I liberate from the ocean of Buddha designated here in the Mahayana teaching, whatever merit I have, may all be because I levels to hold the Mahayana teaching, courage, manju shri nyuvodi, as ama trava tradilaiva, following all the example, I shall dedicate all the merit, may the excellent bodhichitta teva veranaya danza, where has been born, may it increase freely without generation. So thank you very much, and a very warm congratulations to all of you for taking, receiving, and giving so much of your time and attention to these teachings and the ceremony we have just concluded. May each of you be blessed with the special seal, armor of not forgetting bodhicitta. They call armored bodhicitta. When you remember the intention should be like earth stable, and then the practice of that should be like gold, always improving. And it's always, even if you meet with this difficult sentient being problems, your quality of bodhicitta is always waxing. And so in this way, those three are the analogy of the wishing bodhicitta, and all engaging bodhicitta should be applied like the fire, like the fourth analogy, and the um, rest of the 18 analogies are the middle 10 are analogy of the 10 parameters, and the last 18 are also secondary analogies of the 10 parameters, one for each of the 6 main parameters, and then the 7th and 8th has one shared analogy, and the 9 and 10 has another shared analogy. That's how we cover all the 22 analogies of bodhicitta. Thank you very much. May you all be blessed by Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, Manjushri, Chenrezi, Vajrapani, and Samandabhadra, and all the other bodhisattvas. It has been great privilege for me to be able to do this with you. Thank you for all the translators, all the organizers, all the coordinators, and from Sakya Friends, and the network of all the wonderful fellowship of Dharma brothers, that we can come together like this on a big occasion like this. Thank you very much.